Today we're going to be learning about basic strings and how they're used inside of Python. A variable is an example of a variable would be something like this. Name is equal to, and then I'm going to type a name, Bob Sanders. Here's our variable, and our variable, I've chosen it appropriately as name, and then I put this equal sign, which is telling it I want you to make my variable name equal to this string right here. You'll notice I have a pair of quotations, a beginning one and an ending one, and then inside of the quotations I have some information. Whenever it becomes a string on this particular background setup, it turns orange, and so that's how you're going to know if you have a string. The variable here is black. If you change the background color, it can be different colors, but it'll change colors if the computer is recognizing what's happening. So also inside of these quotations, you can put other things like you can put numbers, you can put special characters, you can put spaces, you can put lowercase letters, uppercase letters, all types of information. As long as it's in between these quotations, it's going to recognize it as a string, and it's going to that's what it's going to be represented as. So this is what's called a print function. You can do print, and then you can also do these quotations, and you can type some information in here. Bob went to the store to buy some bread. And then if I run this, it's going to say Bob went to the store to buy some bread. And then I can make another sentence. Well, let me tell you a little bit about this. So you have print. Print is your function. You want the computer to print out something. It has a set of quotations, which is our string, and then it also has a pair of parentheses. So you want to make sure that each set of parenthesis and quotation has a partner. If you leave off the ending quotation or parenthesis or the beginning one, the computer is going to look for the other one, and it may or may not find it, and it can cause an error. Okay, so make sure each one of anytime you put a set of parentheses or quotations down, that it has a beginning and an end. So print is a function, and it has a set of parentheses. And then we can also, instead of typing out each individual sentence, we can also print out our variables up here. So name. So this is going to print out Bob Sanders, because it's gonna run the code. It's gonna get down to print. It's gonna print out this sentence, and then it's gonna do print, and it's gonna print out what's inside this parentheses, and it says name. And when it finds name, it's gonna put Bob Sanders. So it says Bob went to the store to buy some bread, and then I just told it to print the variable name, just like. And then we can also print name 2. And it's going to print all that weird junk I put up there. Okay, so we can use Python to tell a story. Let's say Bob went to the store to buy some bread. After Bob went to the store, he decided to take a nap. And you could continue on with this story. Let's say Bob is 50 years old and likes to play basketball. Okay. Now, if the story got really long, and let's just say we just kept going and the story became something like 100 sentences long, and then for some reason you decided, hey, I don't want my story to be about Bob anymore, I want my story to be about Jim. Well, if you typed out 100 different sentences, you'd have to go back and go to Bob and change Bob to Jim, and then you have to find it again and you have to read your story. Oh, okay, here it says Bob, I'm going to change this one to Jim. Well, we don't have to do that. We're going to use these variables to help us. So instead of going back and adding in each time, finding the name and switching it out, we can use the variable. So if we add name to the front of this, and we're going to remove this here, Jim, and we're going to do name, which is our variable, and then we're going to add it to this string. Okay, so name plus string. So what it's going to do is it's going to get to print, it's going to print out our name, and it's going to print out this extra string here. So now it says Bob Sanders went to the store to buy some bread. And then we can, if we want to change the name at any point, instead of erasing going through the story, erasing everything, we just come up to the top and we put, I want it to be Tim now. Now it's going to say Tim went to the store to buy some bread. Okay. Well, sometimes maybe the variable might be in the center of your sentence, and what you can do to add that in is you just add two separate strings here. So notice I have quotations with a beginning and an ending, and then quotations here with a beginning and an ending, and then now I'm going to put my variable. So let's do name. Now the computer needs to read, it needs to make sense to the computer, so you're going to have to tell it string plus, and then you have the variable, and then you have plus another string. Okay, so we have string plus variable plus string. Now when we run it, it's going to say after Tim went to the store, he decided to take a nap. Well, if for any reason you forget to add this little plus sign here, your computer's going to go, hey, I don't understand what you're asking me, so you need to make sure you have this here. Likewise, if you leave off one of these parentheses, it's going to say the same thing. It's going to have an error, so make sure you watch out for these errors here. We can also make variables to have to change his name, so we can use, to change his age, so we can use numbers as well. So let's do a variable called age, and let's say he doesn't want to be 50 anymore. Let's make him 45. I bet you he'd like that. And I'm also going to put this, in quotes as well. This makes it a string. So now instead of it being, I'm going to add 2 here to this one. Let's get rid of Bob, and let's add our variable name plus, and then he is, and I'm going to add another, let's add another variable plus age plus, and then this string. So now it's gonna, on this line it's gonna print name, then the string. This line is gonna print a string, then name, then a string. On this one it's gonna print name, then a string, then a variable of his age, and then it's gonna print another string. There you go. So now at any point in time, if you decide I don't want it to be Tim, I want it to be something else, I want it to be Jim. Now it changed it just that fast. Same thing with age. If you don't want him to be 45 anymore, maybe now he's 25, just change it. Now he's 25 years old. So that is basic variables and printing out statements with the function print.